Big Pharma is out here looking out for the well-being of the American people again. New cancer drug priced at $475,000 raises questions about pricing and value. The $475,000 price tag is much less than Wall Street expected and might disappoint some investors who hope for a premium on such a complex drug. But it's still causing anxiety among patients. Mindful of the hit its reputation could take, Novartis is offering, in effect, a money-back guarantee. If a patient fails to respond in the first month, there will be no charge. Wow, how kind of them. It's not really straightforward to figure out what the price should be, said David Epstein, a former head of Novartis Pharmaceuticals, who now chairs a biotech called Rubius Therapeutics. Novartis chief executive Joe Jimenez is on record saying the company invested more than $1 billion to get to this point, which would include running clinical trials and outfitting production facilities, but the company has declined to provide any breakdowns. That's interesting. As it turns out, the drug was discovered with funding provided by the National Institute of Health to different institutions, including the University of Pennsylvania, which partnered with Novartis. In all, Mitchell and other activists calculate taxpayers provided $200 million to develop the CAR-T technology that is now being used by several companies to develop an array of drugs. The procedure is quite complex. Patient blood cells are extracted and then modified to attack cancer cells before being re-injected into a patient. Novartis also received a tax credit equal to half the cost of clinical trials, according to Jamie Love of Knowledge Ecology International, a consumer group that tracks access to medicine issues. Quote, "When you propose a price like this, it's incumbent to have more transparency," he insisted. Okay, so let me give you the real breakdown of what happens here. Novartis is crying poverty. Oh my God, we invested $1 billion to try to get this drug, and we're only going to charge $475,000 for the drug. How fucking kind you are. Wow, that's so sweet of you to only charge $475,000. But then you dig deeper, they give no breakdown of where the $1 billion they spent is, number one. Number two, what's actually proven is the amount of money taxpayers have given them. $200 million, National Institutes of Health directly involved, University of Pennsylvania directly involved, on top of a giant tax credit that they got. No, spare me your absolute horseshit. This is nonsense. This is, yet again, for-profit corporations sucking off the teat of the American middle-class taxpayer, and then, when they develop the technology funded by the fucking government, they turn around and say, we're only going to charge you $475,000 for this. Look, man, understand something. There are people who listen to this show who are significantly to the left of me, and they get mad at me that I'm not as far left as they are. I'm not against profit. You want to have profit in an area which should be dictated by market forces? By all means. You want to have profit for the video game that you make? Sure. The car you make? Sure. The couch or the bed, the consumer good, the sneaker, whatever it may be? Yes, by all means. Free market, make your profit, do whatever the fuck you want in that realm. There should be regulation, of course, but 100% right capitalism all day long. No problem with it whatsoever. Don't tell me that this shit is equal to that and that this needs to be treated in the same way economically as those other things I just mentioned. Because that's just fucking stupid. We're going to have life and death decisions and the profit motive involved. We're going to have Big Pharma price gouge the shit out of us as they buy the government. We're going to have for-profit health insurance companies try to find ways. They have whole departments that are dedicated to trying to wiggle out of paying for claims for people who are sick and need their health care. Don't try to tell me that everything is the same and every industry should be capitalist and there should be no government. Oh, keep the government out of this. Don't get the government involved in this. Don't regulate this. Don't make this socialist. Don't make sure that that doesn't have a profit motive. Go fuck yourself if you think like that, because that's just dead wrong. You're just wrong. This is exactly what government should be for. I want my tax dollars going to shit that makes sense. We spend over $100 billion a year to maintain 900 military bases. We spend money, $80 billion a year, for a subsidy, a corporate welfare check to the big banks. And you're going to tell me that when somebody gets sick and they need help, a pharmaceutical company, which we paid for the fucking research to develop the drug, they're going to charge that poor person $475,000 goddamn dollars? Please. And then also, remember, we're not allowed. The government passed a rule. We're not allowed to negotiate with Big Pharma. So for Medicare drugs, for any drugs, you know what happens? The pharmaceutical company says, oh, you owe us X. Whatever that number is, and the government has to pay it. Okay. In Canada, they pay 20%, 25%, half in some cases, for their drugs as we pay for ours. Because they fucking negotiate with the companies. We don't even negotiate with them. Pharmaceutical companies bought and own the government, and that's why they get away with shit like this. So we pay for the research and development. We develop the technology. The company turns around and says, you should thank us. We're only going to charge you $475,000. If you think the system doesn't need reform, you're a fucking moron.